Let's bring in our panel. Midas Touch legal analyst Dina Dahl and host of the Death of Journalism podcast, John Ziegler. John, you visibly reacted as she was speaking. Your reaction to that?
I would like to know which part of this episode turned out poorly for this woman. She provoked it. She's fine. Thankfully, no one got hurt. She's now been interviewed on major media networks across the country. She is an immigration activist. She's made ICE look bad in a lot of media coverage. How did this turn out poorly for her? She could not have possibly asked for a better situation than what transpired, and she provoked this. You don't want to have a situation like this? Guess what? Don't provoke it. It's pretty simple.
Your reaction?
I mean, this provocation, words are not provocation. Any criminal defense lawyer in the world can say you cannot have violent self-defense just because somebody said a word you did not like.
Nobody wants. Where's the violence?
Pointing a gun at somebody could be considered assault. No, in a court of law, that could be considered assault.
When law enforcement does it like that?
Well, no, but I'm saying, like, he's trying to say that words provoked it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even have that standard. That's not a standard of some sort of self-defense for use of a weapon, pointing it at somebody. The fact of the matter is this was not a win. Nobody should have a weapon drawn at them and pointed at them, especially somebody who's using that gun, the power of the federal government that we all gave that person is definitely being abused by pointing a weapon.
What do you make, Dina, of this news that ICE is now buying up gloves to shock people into submission?
If this was a good idea, police departments around the country would do it. The fact of the matter is, well-run police departments know how to de-escalate a situation. They know how to be involved in the communities and understand communities to have a trust. The fact that DHS and ICE is doing this is they're trying to overcompensate for the fact that they have not trained their officers at all, as you can see by the fact that they're so provoked by words, they're drawing weapons at somebody. So you're actually just giving them more ability to harm people.
But don't police use tasers all the time? I mean, how is it different from that?
I mean, I don't know if they use it all the time. It is one of the tools at their disposal, but some sort of a use of this in order to de-escalate it, when we know there are ways to de-escalate situations. The police departments, again, have used that all the time. And that video that showed us somehow this person was not harmed, you have no idea underlying heart conditions that are involved. This can be very dangerous. And we've seen again and again, over 4,000 illegal arrests. Courts have determined 10,000 court cases have been thrown out by ICE. They are not doing their job well. They are capturing citizens. They are doing things illegally. And then on top of it, you're giving them another tool to harm somebody.
John.
Immigration enforcement is inherently messy, and the left has figured out that if they make it more difficult than it already is, like Dina just suggested, by not even allowing these gloves, which look pretty darn good in that promotional video, that they can make ICE look bad. This is a political battle. And because immigration enforcement is so messy, it's inherently going to be a political problem for Republicans. That's what the left wants. They want this woman, the activist, wanted to provoke an incident to make ICE look bad, not because she felt like she was in any real danger, but because she's against the issue of enforcement of illegal immigration. That's the heart of the matter here.
The left actually had a bipartisan immigration deal with Republicans. So it is not inherently messy. This could have been done well, but Trump wanted to run on it. And instead, his thing of somehow we need to capture illegals has morphed into we need to deport everybody who has the wrong color of skin and accent, because they are doing it with people who are here legally, not just people who are here
Who's been
undocumented.
deported that's here legally?
Who are pending asylum cases are sitting in detention centers right now.
Right, but they haven't been deported.
Well, they're awaiting deportation.
Yeah.
I mean, why should they be sitting in a prison when they are here legally? So they're not capturing just people who have no documentation.
Look, I think that this is a classic example of where we have lost sight of the goal. The goal is to have real immigration enforcement, people that are here legally, great. If you're here illegally and you're taking advantage of the system, you should be at least under the threat of potentially being deported. Without that threat, we don't have a real country because we don't have actual borders, especially when we're living in effectively a welfare state. We can't pretend this is still 1919. The whole system has changed, and this is rational immigration reform that liberals want to make as difficult as possible.
But don't you think that sometimes ICE has gone way too far, John?
Yes,
I mean, the
absolutely.
mass not putting stuff, rounding people up.
100%.
There have been a lot of people who have been targeted because of the color of their
left
skin.
understands the power of those pictures. This is difficult work. It's inherently messy, and the left is thrilled that it's so difficult to do.
We're not thrilled. People are suffering. This is not a win. There are people sitting in these prisons without humane conditions. The fact of the matter is, federal courts have said ICE has detained 10,000 people illegally. The ICE looks bad because ICE is doing bad.
Yeah.
We are doing nothing but speaking about what they are doing.
Want to get one other headline in. Speaking of all these talking points, the person from the White House podium who's been delivering a lot of these talking points this term is Karoline Leavitt, who announced that she is leaving. She just had a baby and a second baby. She's got 2 kids, I think under 2. And she posted this on X, quote, being a mother and working a new baby while working in one of the most demanding jobs in the world has been one of the most rewarding, challenging seasons of life. The truth is, since returning to the White House after the birth of my daughter, I felt in my heart that I cannot be the best mom to my 2 young children deserve while devoting the constant time, energy, and attention required to be White House press secretary. I know you probably disagree with what she says almost every day, but in terms of being effective at that job, is she one of the most effective White House press secretaries we've ever seen?
Yes, absolutely. And he's not going to find a better person, because the fact is she came in when Trump was kind of off of a win of 2024. His approval ratings are in a disaster right now. He's not going to get somebody of her talent. The fact is she does lie every day for him, but she does it in a convincing way. And the next person is just, he's not going to be able to retain that kind of talent again.
I think her legacy is that she did an amazing job because her job was to please one person and one person only. And his name was Donald Trump. And she understood that every single day. And she succeeded every single day. And as far as her leaving, I totally respect as a mom wanting to spend as much time with her children as possible. But I'm a little bit confused. She's married. He's basically retirement age. Why can't he help with the kids? Maybe she thinks that he's going to be in a nursing home soon or something. I'm not sure.
Well, that's not. I mean, she has an older husband. But the point is, a lot of people say that as an excuse, but it seems like, I mean, when you've got 2 kids like that, there's a lot of work.
Maybe she didn't like being a decoy on the Air Force One. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we have no idea why she decided to leave.
Okay. Dina, John, we know that you guys are not leaving. You're going to be back with us in the next hour to talk about, among other things, the wealth tax that may be coming to California. That'll be interesting to discuss when we see you in the next hour, but we want to get some other news now.